For 70 years, one of the world's largest oil producers bought its own crude back as imported fuel. Every single day. $10 billion a year. One man decided to end it. He spent $20 billion of his own money. No government support. No foreign partnerships. No incentives of any kind. What he built in Lagos is now the largest single-train oil refinery on earth. Not in Africa. On earth. His name is Aliko Dangote. And the decision he made tells you everything about how the biggest problems in the world actually get solved. Stay with this. To understand what Dangote did, you have to first understand the absurdity he was solving. Nigeria sits on 37 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves. Africa's largest oil producer. One of the top 10 in the world. For 70 years, Nigeria pumped that oil out of the ground, loaded it onto tankers, and shipped it to refineries in Europe and America. Those refineries turned it into petrol, diesel, and aviation fuel. Then Nigeria bought it back. At global market prices. In dollars. Every liter of petrol a Nigerian bought at a filling station for decades came from a refinery on another continent. Nigeria had 4 government-owned refineries. 2 in Port Harcourt. 1 in Warri. 1 in Kaduna. Combined nameplate capacity of 445,000 barrels per day. On paper. In reality, they operated at below 10% of that capacity for most of their existence. Decades of mismanagement. Decades of broken equipment. Decades of contracts awarded to fix the same problems that were never fixed. By 2023, Nigeria was importing roughly 250,000 barrels per day of refined petroleum products. The annual bill was $10 billion. $10 billion leaving Nigeria every year to pay for something Nigeria had the raw material to produce itself. The government had tried to fix this for 30 years. Committees. Budgets. Contracts. Announcements. Nothing changed. Dangote looked at this for years. And then he decided to solve it himself. The decision to build the refinery did not happen overnight. It took years of regulatory battles before ground was finally broken in 2016. The site chosen was the Lekki Free Zone on the Atlantic coast of Lagos. Roughly 32 square kilometers of land. For context, that is larger than many city centers. The project required 260 kilometers of pipes. 60,000 workers at peak construction. Equipment sourced from across 4 continents. The total cost came to $20 billion. Every dollar of it private capital. No government funding. No sovereign guarantee. No foreign oil major as a partner. When Dangote was asked how he financed it without government support, he said simply, "We built our $20 billion refinery without a single incentive from the government." $20 billion. Zero government support. For context, $20 billion is larger than the annual GDP of more than 40 African nations. While the refinery was being built, the same conversation was happening in every corner of Nigeria. It will never work. The government will block it. The oil majors will not allow it. The crude supply will be strangled. Every argument followed the same logic. The people who benefit from the import model will not allow it to be disrupted. The full importers were making billions. The middlemen were making billions. The system was profitable for everyone except the ordinary Nigerian paying inflated prices at the pump. And then something remarkable happened. The refinery was commissioned on May 22, 2023. The President of Nigeria was there. The ceremony was broadcast nationally. In January 2024, the first diesel and aviation fuel rolled out of the facility. In September 2024, trucks loaded with locally refined petrol left the Dangote Refinery for the domestic market. The first time in over a decade that a Nigerian refinery had supplied petrol locally. The people who said it would never work were wrong. Here is where the story gets complicated. Building the refinery was not the hard part. The hard part came after. Dangote publicly accused Nigerian oil marketers and the state oil company of sabotaging the refinery by continuing to import fuel even while his facility sat fully stocked and ready to supply. In October 2024, he confirmed that Dangote Industries had filed a lawsuit against the Nigerian National Petroleum Company and oil importers. The accusation was that vested interests were deliberately importing fuel to undercut local production and protect the import business that had made them rich for decades. He told a press conference directly, "Whoever is frustrating the supply of crude to the local refinery is an enemy of this country." This was not a quiet boardroom disagreement. This was Africa's richest man taking on the most powerful economic interest in Nigeria's most profitable industry. In public. In court. That fight is still ongoing. What is not in dispute is what the refinery has already done. By late 2024, the refinery was producing diesel, aviation fuel, and petrol for the domestic market. Production targets put the facility on course to supply the majority of Nigeria's fuel needs within 2 years of full operation. Diesel prices fell. Jet fuel prices fell. The refinery began exporting refined products to Ghana, Togo, and Cameroon, making Nigeria a net fuel exporter to West Africa for the first time in its history. The facility that critics said would never work is now the largest single-train refinery on Earth. Not in Africa. On Earth. And Dangote is not finished. He has announced plans to expand the refinery's capacity significantly beyond its current 650,000 barrels per day. An IPO of the refinery business on the Nigerian exchange at a valuation that would make it one of the largest listings in African stock market history is under consideration. The man who built a $20 billion refinery with zero government support is now planning the next phase. Step back from the story. Because the lesson here is not about oil. Dangote did not build the refinery because it was easy. He built it because for 70 years every person who should have built it chose not to. The government had the mandate. It failed. Repeatedly. The oil majors had the expertise. They had no incentive to reduce Nigeria's import dependency. The fuel importers had the capital. They were profiting from the problem. The only person who could solve it was someone willing to absorb $20 billion of risk, years of regulatory delay, and a hostile campaign from the very people the refinery was designed to replace. That is not a business strategy. That is a philosophy. Find the problem that is too big, too slow, too political for anyone else to solve. Then solve it. At personal cost. At massive scale. Dangote has done this in cement. In sugar. In flour. Now in oil. Every time the pattern is the same. The market is broken. The existing players benefit from it being broken. One person decides to fix it anyway. Forbes confirms Aliko Dangote as Africa's richest person. A title he has held for over a decade. Built not on inheritance. Not on government contracts. But on solving problems that everyone else called impossible. The question his refinery story leaves you with is not about Nigeria. It is not about oil or fuel or import duties. It is this. In your world, the industry you work in, the market you are trying to enter, the problem you see every day that nobody is fixing, what is the version of Nigeria's fuel import trap? What is the broken system that is profitable for a few and painful for everyone else? Because Dangote's answer has been the same for 50 years. Build it anyway. Drop in the comments, what is the broken system in your industry that someone needs to fix? And who do you think will fix it? If this changed how you see what one person can build, subscribe. Every week we break down the decisions, the risks, and the mechanisms behind the largest fortunes ever built. You will not find this anywhere else.